More than half of all companies globally are family-owned or operated. Family businesses contribute 70% of the world's GDP and account for 65% of jobs. Their voices are important. Their stories must be told. Brought to you by the award-winning publication, Tharawat magazine. This is the Family Business Voice with your host, Ramya Elagami.
Norrøna, natural leaders. For Norrøna, a Norwegian family business at the forefront of the outdoor clothing industry, respect for the natural world is woven in. Jørgen Jorgensen, an avid outdoorsman, founded the company nearly a century ago to share his passion with others, manufacturing the necessary equipment to experience the beauty of Norway's rugged surroundings. Jørgen Jorgensen's great-grandson, also named Jørgen Jorgensen, pioneered a complementary mix of e-commerce with an ever-expanding network of conventional storefront locations to enable Norrøna to stay relevant and close to consumers. We met with Jørgen, who today is the CEO of Norrøna, to discuss the industry's technological drivers, Norrøna's award-winning retail strategy, and what environmental responsibility means to a company founded in celebration of the natural world. Enjoy our conversation with Jørgen. Jørgen, I think you have the founder's name of the company, right? But I think that you are, in the meantime, you're already the fourth generation, is that correct, of the family business?
That's correct, yes.
So the fourth generation. So let's start with you though. We'll talk about the business at length, but what made you decide to join the family business? Was it something that you always knew you wanted to do?
Yeah, most of my life, I knew that I wanted to do that. I mean, I like building stuff, I like making stuff, and I like the outdoors. And I was introduced to the company all the way since I was a young kid.
So you had to help out when you were a kid as well? Did they make you work?
Yeah. My father brought me in when I was maybe 5 years old and brought me into the company, joining inventory counting and I, just hanging around there. So he let me design my first jacket when I was 12.
Okay.
And, when I was 15, 16, the company was quite close to where I grew up. Mm-hmm. So I had the keys and I was working there in the evenings. And, I got used to using the sewing machines and all that kind of stuff. So I started making my own gear, I guess, by the age of 16.
Wow. So you really, you went full in. And then when did you officially join?
I started working full-time in year 2000, but I joined the board in 94.
94. And so for you, when you sort of started working full-time in the company as well, you must have observed quite an interesting evolution though in the industry that you guys are in. So you've been in this industry for, will soon be 100 years, basically. You're very close to your centenarian. What are the biggest changes that you've seen in the adventure sports gears world? And how has it affected Norrøna in the way that you function as a company?
When we started, people were using outdoors, much more basic. So it was very, very different, and you didn't have as technical materials as you have today. So, some extreme people were exploring and doing the crazy stuff, but people in general were more out in nice weather or less extreme weather. So I think from a clothing perspective, the biggest revolution that took place was invention of Gore-Tex during the end of the 70s. With this, you could basically be out in any weather, any parts of the world. Of course, if you're really high up, you need some down jackets also. But even when you go to the South Pole, our ambassadors that spend a lot of time to the South and North Pole, they basically use a base layer and a Gore-Tex jackets. They don't use much more. Even if it's cold, when you stop, you add on the insulation. So Gore-Tex is, I think, the biggest innovation when it comes to, outdoor enthusiasts being out in any kind of weather. And what is driving the outdoor sports? It's always the hard goods.
Okay.
No one makes clothing for an activity that doesn't exist. Mm-hmm. So, when you start making tools to go ice climbing, okay, now that's possible. Then you start making clothing. Mm-hmm. When people are starting to do mountain biking, okay, then you're making good clothing. When you start to do free ride skiing, then you can make free ride clothing. but we were very early adopters going into the niches when the hard goods came. So, I mean, we started doing really cool ice climbing and winter climbing gear during the end of the 70s. We were making waterproof and quiet hunting gear as one of the first in the world in the end of the 80s. We were making free ride clothing, in the early 2000s. We were making single track mountain biking products, in 2009. That didn't exist at that time, so we were early adopters also there. And also ski touring clothing, we were in 2009, we started making this because, people started doing it and then they want specialized equipment for it.
So you're early adopter for trends that you see emerging, and at the same time, there's a lot of technology involved in what you're doing. So you're just like explaining the introduction of new materials, how that affects it.
Well, both features and fit and materials, all of this is, and I mean, most of the people working in Norrøna are, outdoor enthusiasts or extreme users. So we use a lot of our products ourselves, and we also see when new trends are adopting. So we understand, now we're starting to do this. We need to make some products for it.
I'd love to talk more about that as well. Like, it's interesting. So you have a whole staff that loves the outdoors, but like more to the point of like, you explained before, like when you were 12, you got to design your first jacket. 16, you were at the sewing machine. So today, how does the operation work? Would you still call it craftsmanship, what you are doing, or is there a lot of automation involved at this stage for your production?
I mean, clothing is still a very manual process. It's hard to find robotics that are able to replace the sort of mechanism of human beings. So, of course, we have projects working on automation, but, to sew a Gore-Tex jacket or to sew any product, 99% is in the world is made with human manpower. At our office in Oslo, we have, 1,000 square meters factory where we develop 90 to 95% of all the products we're making. We develop here. So every day new products are coming out. I mean, I got a t-shirt yesterday for testing and went out testing it during the evening. This is how we operate. So this craftsmanship is based on that we have labs, we have all the sewing facilities we need, we have all the people working here to construct the patterns. And then we made a sample, we go out and test it, and we go back in and adjust it. And this is how we work every day, year round.
And do you think in terms of generations when you think of your consumers? Like, do you look at, okay, so for instance, like, everyone's obsessed with millennials. Do you look at millennials? Are they more interested in outdoors or not? Or is it like, are you really catering to a niche that has no age, basically? It's like either people love it or they don't. How does it work for you?
It's more of a mental mind, For example, freeride skiers, they buy more or less the same gear, no matter what age. And maybe you're a bit crazy when you're younger, but a lot of freeride skiers can go to their 60 or their 70 today. So people go skiing it doesn't matter the age. Of course, we make high-end quality and high-priced gear. So, either people are willing to invest in that when they're young and it lasts for a long time, or you sort of wait a few years until you can afford it. But as long as you are quality and functionally minded and also care about sustainability, I mean, you're a potential Norrøna consumer.
So this is quite an unconventional thing that you have here as a proposition to a market, but then you did something else unconventional, which is you've recently opened a storefront location, going against the trend of everyone saying like, brick and mortar is sort of like, not a good idea anymore. Tell us a little bit more about that decision and why you decided to do this at this point in time of the company's history.
I mean, this year it will be 10 years since we opened the first store, and we did it under the financial crisis.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, it's quite an unusual move.
It was more of a, now it's time to do it. I mean, I worked in retail back in the 90s quite a bit. So we had the store chain at that time, but we did a lot of the wrong things. So we sold it off. So, I mean, Norrøna is a brand that cares about the consumer. So we need consumer interaction. We cannot let our distribution channels be the only one that's connected to our consumer. That's why stores and e-commerce are really important to us, so we can have a constant dialogue with our consumers. I mean, we needed to communicate what kind of brand we were. We were a design brand, but know all the sporting retailers that we were working with sort of showing the products like we wanted it. So to create a home for Norrøna to show how we were, building the collection and putting it together was really critical. I don't believe, brick and mortar will disappear. I think we'll see the worst of this disruption also. I think we're getting closer to a sort of more even level. I think a big part of why retail has been struggling is because they don't have the availability of the products. Consumers are tired of going in the retail store, not finding what they're looking for. In the Norrøna stores, you always get all the products. They are available all the time. So you have the same availability as you have online. So we don't have that situation where you go into the stores and it's not there and you get tired of it. So, I mean, this is a universe that's both online and offline, and we try to merge it. And we believe that going forward also, that we will continue to develop both the online and the offline.
Do you know whether you've been able to create new enthusiasts as well, like, and to sort of like reach people that otherwise would have never heard of you? Do you really, or is it pretty much a match between people who walk into the store and buy from you online?
No, I mean, it will take many years before we cover the whole world with stores. And outdoor enthusiasts are spread all over the world. So we will not be able to cover all of them with stores. And even with the local wholesalers, they will not carry the whole collection. So the online is super important to us. And I mean, we ship to the whole world within 2 to 3 days. So and have very smooth opportunities to change and return products. So when we run Net Promoter Score, all of this, and they run really high, mid-80s is the score we have in Net Promoter Score for consumer satisfaction. So they are very happy with both the products and the service they get around it. And that's the fundamental of our brand, making fantastic products and providing great service.
Does it matter, do you think, that you're a family business? I mean, to the consumers and to your employees, like, outward and inwards. Have you ever thought about it is it an advantage to you that you consciously celebrate with your family? Or are you like, it just has to be a well-run company and that is all that matters?
I mean, the direction of the company has been the same for many, many years. So it's predictable both for our consumers, our customers, and our employees. And also, I think a lot of family companies, they think long term. You of course care about the profit you have the next quarter, but decisions are not based on maximizing that quarter. It's based on maximizing for a generation or two. And then decisions we take is very, I think they are more sustainable. If you're going to be successful in the long term, your consumer has to be happy. So the decisions are much more based on the consumer will stay there and continue to grow and be loyal to you for many years. For people that like quality and sort of like ambitious goals, I think that's more interesting. There's probably a lot of other cool things in other kinds of companies, but of course, I think we attract people that match these expectations. A lot of our competitors in the outdoor segment, they get new owners every 5 years. New owner, new strategy, So, yeah, people maybe get a little frustrated there because you changed your direction.
So the consistency is a big plus in your industry, basically. But also, like, I think that, I mean, I wouldn't call it lucky, but it seems lovely that your family has been able to transmit the enthusiasm from one generation to the next. Of course, we talk to so many family businesses, and their biggest challenge is always continuity across generations. Do you feel like your family has done something specific to make sure that over 4 generations, every generation was so enthusiastic about this topic? Like, is it just a Norwegian thing? Like, I don't know, maybe it's a DNA or
it's probably a bit of luck and a bit of awareness around the subject. But I mean, if I was not deeply passionate about the outdoors, I would not be able to put this much energy into the company, and then maybe I wouldn't be the right person to run it. And I mean, I have 2 kids, and I cannot force them to do it. It has to be done with sort of positive motivation from their side. And of course, I hope that 1 or 2 of them really gets that. But the only thing I can do is to use positive motivation. If I try to force it, I try to demand it, I don't think it will work. I don't think the family needs to be the CEO. If you have the right values, you can still be good owners to the company. Of course, I think in many ways you get something extra by the family steering, all the daily operations also.
Definitely, when someone is really passionate about it, I think it matters a lot, right? Like also for the rest of the employees. So just tell us, just as a last question, I wanted to ask you, like, how you see the future. So your main focus on the outdoors, etc., and climate change is influencing your business, must be influencing your business a lot as well. Like, the difficulties, the possibilities are changing because our planet is basically very much affected. So how do you see the future of Norrøna? Like, is it for you very clear? Like, you said before, it's always been very clear where we wanted to go with the company, and we've stayed very consistent. Now it seems like this, I wouldn't say apocalyptic, it's a bit dramatic, but like, sometimes it feels like there's a real rupture at the moment in terms of like how we live and what our planet is trying to tell us. So do you feel this is going to influence the future of your family business?
Of course, but still, what we want to achieve is making long-lasting great products. I mean, we repaired products for 90 years. We've been making high-quality products for 90 years. So the sustainability or responsibility part of it has always been there. Of course, we've been more aware of material use and how our whole supply chain is sort of working. So this is a big challenge, and we want to be a leader of changing the outdoor industry to an industry that do not harm the environment. And this, we have super ambitious goals. It's going to be super hard to reach its goals. It's going to be very demanding, but there's no way around it. I mean, we also live by nature. We have an even bigger responsibility to protect it. Also, there is so much new technology out there. Still, great customer service, great products is what's going to make us successful. But we're working with sourcing in more and more of our operations. So we're a technology company. We have a lot of, computer science people, programmers. So we're working on this, but there's no guarantee that we will, be the winner or succeed in it. But we are investing a lot in all parts of the company to meet this very challenging future that's there. And I think the big companies, they have an advantage because they have so much more power and they have market access and all these kind of things. So, I mean, it's going to be challenging, but still, the market always looks challenging at the moment you're in there. And when you start sort of going 5 years ahead, it's going to be much worse. Then you look back 5 years and it was so easy at that time. so we sort of know that today is the hardest day in the company's history, but it's also the easiest day going forward. We can only control the environment that we have here. So as long as we invest and do as good as we can, that's the only way we can sort of influence how successful we become. We cannot control our competitors, we cannot control the economy in general, and we cannot control the weather. So we just have to adopt our business as good as we can and make sure that we invest enough money every year to, have enough power to reach our ambitions.
Thank you so much for talking to us about this wonderful company. I hope that you will be successful for many generations to come.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Family Business Voice. Subscribe to our channels now on iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, or Spotify to be notified of our weekly episodes.